Hey YouTube, I discovered I haven't done a review of this guitar yet, or this bass. This is a Washburn Force 8 from 1983. The serial number on these is quite easy to read, it starts with 83. So this is Washburn, made by Yamaki in Japan. There were a couple of Force range basses. This is the sort of first one. The first one, this shape was kind of more like this. It wasn't called a Force though, but it was this. If you imagine this shape, but that bass, that would be sort of 80, 81 sort of thing. And then 82, 83, they came out with a sort of more Fendery version of it. So this one's a bolt-on neck. As you can see, the bolt-on thing's away inside here in the body, so the neck actually runs in here, into here somewhere. It's hidden by the scratch plate. Which, if you actually look at the later on Force ABT series basses, which they might even still make, you can see that they've kind of taken this idea further, where you can actually see the end. You'll have seen basses from the late 80s, early 90s that, you know, you can actually see the neck running into here past the end of the fingerboard. Which actually, if you were going to do that, why not just put extra frets on that? But anyway, they didn't, so it's a kind of a progression from this. So they started, as I said, they started off being that shape, they were through neck, and then they did this, and the idea was that they did this with the guitars as well. It means that there's no heel up here, so you can get up to the last fret really easily. And the outside shape is pretty much a P bass, because I did have a P bass body at one point, and I laid it on top of it, and it's pretty much like, apart from this bit, it's pretty much a P bass around the outside. It's a flat top though. It doesn't have the contour here. So, and because the neck comes slightly further in, it doesn't feel as long as a P bass. You know, it's maybe, you know, like 2 inches shorter from tip to thing. I mean, it's the same, still the same scale. It's just, no, it can't be. It must be exactly the same size, because the bridge is in the same place. So forget that. It's just basically this cutaway's deeper. You know, the P bass would join sort of here somewhere. The Force 4 is one of the other ones in the range. It's basically this, apart from it's got, doesn't have the binding on it. The Force 8's got binding, and there's one called, I think it's a Force 40, which is basically this again, apart from it's got either 2 pickups or it's active as well. It might be a Force 40 EQ, sort of sitting in the middle somewhere. Interestingly, the P bass pickup was the wrong way around from a normal P bass pickup. Normally you get this one would be here. Do you know what I mean? So it's normally the trebly one would be closer to the bridge, and the bassier one would be closer to the neck. This one is the other way around. Bridge is a solid piece, actually very similar to what's on an Aria Pro. Yeah, these knobs I don't like, but they were on it, so I've just left them. They actually look quite cool, give it a sort of 50s Chevy car type look. It's also got a really bizarre looking string tree. I don't really know, not really seen that anywhere else. The tuners on this are not original because they're Scholler. So I don't know what would have happened to the original ones. The original ones were funny tuners. I think they're ones that you could, did a tension adjust thing on the side, but it was like a sort of sleeve, but where things sits in. People didn't know how to adjust them, so they kind of, I think maybe that's why they get binned at some point. But they did anyway. This one doesn't have the triangular neck profile, which my Force 4 bass, which is in bits and I've never actually played because the body was all smashed up when I bought it. It doesn't have the super V neck. It's a slight V, and it's slightly asymmetrical as well, which apparently wasn't necessarily 100% meant to be, because apparently Yamaki's machine that they used to copy necks had a slight error in it, which meant that they all came out slightly askew from what the original template was. But now, if you look up, I think it's Slash's Les Paul and stuff like that, you know, you can put an asymmetrical neck on because it's better for your hand. You know, it's got a shorter, it's sort of thicker at this, sort of here, and then slightly thinner here. Doesn't make a huge difference, but I suppose if it does make any difference, it's slightly to your advantage. Maple neck. This is not a one-piece maple neck. It's a separate fingerboard. Yes, so basically it's a P bass, and I really like P basses. I've had this in the studio with the Black Sabbath band a few times, and it looks really good. It's kind of I got away with it because I think it was Rob the drummer's like, you know, it's kind of like a Rickenbacker, like yep, because Geezer Butler played a Rickenbacker for one video. I think he only played it for like a week, but it's like when they did the Never Say Die tour, he's playing a Rickenbacker bass, and I think maybe it's just the colour and the binding that kind of makes it look a bit Rickenbackery sort of. There's also a PV modern bass, I think it's called a Milestone, which is a sort of not a million miles away from this shape. But these are fantastic. It's as good a P bass as I've ever played, and I've got a couple of really expensive P basses. It's as good as them, easily. All top quality stuff, miles better than any guitar you can buy now. So I'll just, bass videos are kind of funny ones, so I'll kind of, not much tonal variance because all you've got is a tone control really. Turn it down, tone. All the way down. turn that round, try a bit of fuzz bass leads, which it's not going to work, but let's see what happens anyway. So I can basically play bass all day. Just it's much easier when you've got some sort of click track going for all you bass players at home sitting there. And if you play guitar, you should play the bass as well. You can pick up a bass for not very much, and they're great fun. Just if you pick up a sort of P bass copy, even the Squire ones are pretty good. There's not very much wrong you can really get wrong with a P bass. There's lots kicking about and they're great fun. So I think it doesn't necessarily work the other way, because if you play the guitar, play the bass, you've got quite a lot of things to learn to play the guitar. There's an awful lot of sort of, holding chords and strumming technique and stuff like that, whereas if you go the other way around, then there's just so many things you can do on a bass that sound pure amazing and aren't that difficult if you can already play lead guitar. And it's just great fun. It can sound, very rarely on a guitar can you play like one or two notes and it sounds pure brilliant, whereas in this you can just, it just sounds amazing. That's only playing one note. It's about playing it at the right time. Obviously with the drums. I could honestly keep doing that for 10 minutes. I just kind of did, but without ever doing anything else. It's just everyone's always talking about get in the groove and stuff like that. I do understand it, but I mean it's just playing the notes at the right time and at the same volume and just being able to keep it going. It's just amazing fun, and this is an amazing bass. It's one of my favourites. It's relatively new as well. I did do a video of it when I bought it, so it's not like this is the first time it's been on YouTube. It's the first time it's had its own video, and that was a good 15 minutes of just bass on its own. So I think if you've got that far into it, then you're mad into bass anyway. And that's the thing about bass as well. It's like, although you get like ones with multiple pickups and lots of things on them, it's really, you kind of just don't need any of that. You just need the one bass sound and you're off. I mean, I tried using fuzz and stuff like that. It's a bit silly. You don't need that. And the difference that makes is, see if you're playing along with someone, especially in a band. I mean, the first band I was in playing bass, the first sort of pro band I was in playing bass, it was amazing the difference. They'd have the guitars to play a pure amazing riff and amazing drum things, and I would just come in and go, and it would just, the whole thing would be complete. And I was only playing one note, or sort of technically two notes, playing it at exactly the right time. It was amazing how much power you could add just by keeping it simple and playing along with other people. Also, bass playing makes you play along with the drummer an awful lot more, makes you understand what the drummer's trying to do an awful lot more. There's a kind of a camaraderie that comes from that. I kind of feel a wee bit sorry for the bass player in Cranking House, the band I'm in, playing guitar, because I'm a bass player as well. It doesn't have the same translation problem which you always get, or the translation thing which always happens when you're in a band when you're the bass player. You kind of, the drummer sort of does something and you kind of transpose what the drummer's doing so that other people in the band can understand it, whereas I'm kind of, because I'm a bass player, I kind of know what the drummer meant, so it's like there's that level of translation doesn't really happen, because I can kind of hear the drums go up here, oh, I know what the bass should be doing, therefore I know what the guitar should be doing on top of that, whereas normally the bass player kind of decides what the bass is doing, and then when the guitar player hears the bass player, he understands it, and then what a load of crap. Rock on!